viewers, and welcome to this another program of Advancing the Cause. This program comes to you every Wednesday night from 18:30 hours to 20 hours. The official host of this program is the Honorable Coretta McDonald, AA, MP, and General Secretary of the Guyana Teachers Union. Comrade McDonald is unavoidably absent from this program tonight because of pressing duties related to things of national interest. And therefore, I want to tender an apology for her not being on this program tonight. My name is Dennis Jaikran, and I would be hosting this program for tonight. Our topic tonight would be the cries are many. And before I outline to you, the viewers, what are the areas we are going to discuss on this program, I wish to say that this topic tonight came out as a result of the number of calls that came to this program, and that there's this demand from our viewers to have this program, the topic, so to speak, for this program tonight. The cries are many. And so, as we discuss this topic, there are going to be two areas of focus. We are going to look at education issues, and we are going to look at general issues. And so at this stage, I want us to look at education issues, because very many things undesirable in the education system is happening. And because these things are happening, our teachers, our learners, and our parents are at a great disadvantage. And so tonight we want to touch first on the failure of the PPP appointed regional education officers. Some time ago, this program indicated that there was this rush without following due process as it relates to public service rules and regulations, and as it relates to the Public Service Commission, in relation to filling of vacancies, that there was serious contravention. And what were these contraventions? That there was no public advertisement for the filling of vacancies of regional education officers. And so in December of last year, some of these persons who were performing duties and in some cases were classroom teachers so appointed regional education officers because of their closeness, their affiliation, and as friends, families, and favorites. And in some of these regions, where these regional education officers would have been pitchforked into the system, the delivery of education in those regions are very, very disheartening. And so it might be good for us to say to our viewers, at least to make mention of a number of things that are happening. Let's try to deal with administrative appointments that are made by the Teaching Service Commission and the school board's secretariat. But let us take a school or 3 schools in Region 3, Region 4, where things are not well. And because we do not want to name the schools, we are going to allow our viewers to understand the degree of indiscipline among learners. And so at a particular school, last week, secondary school, one female, allegedly, learner would have been so molested by 2 male learners. And because they want to keep that in-house situation, not wanting to bring it to the public, by an hour after those incidents, that the public would have been aware of this situation. And that particular school, there are very, very many indiscipline scenarios in relation to the learners. But these matters are so covered up that it does not get here in the public. And these things happen because the school is mismanaged. And so let us turn to another school in the same region, 2. Indiscipline, as reported by the parents, is at maximum at that school. And so that person that is performing duties as head teacher allegedly, and was brought to this program by parents and teachers, that this head teacher who is performing those duties are very much busy in catering and in the supply of goods and services. Now you tell me as viewers that when these things happen, how is it a head teacher can be able to manage a school effectively? And there's a manual, not manual rather, there's a book, Effective School Management. It's a blue cover book. And I would want to recommend that from the Minister of Education right down to the last teacher in any school to get hold of a copy of that book. And so they can all read it and stop this hemorrhage of what is happening in education in this country. And so once head teachers and teachers, regional education officers, school welfare officers are too busy with what they are doing, meaning those works of civil works, catering, supply of goods and services, that opportunity of them performing based on effectiveness is not there. And so our learners are the persons who are made to suffer. And so this happens because departments of education, more particularly those who are appointed because they're being friends, families, and favorites, and who are not ready in any way or in any form for the level of education management. Viewers, I want to apologize for that break we had just now. That interruption or disruption, whatever it might be, is expected on programs like these. But it would not disallow us from doing what we have to do. So let me deal with some other aspects, because it might be that there's going to be more disruption. And so let us touch at this time on what is happening at the North Rumville Multilateral School, secondary school. Well, let me give a background to multilateral school so that we can better understand. It is a special program. And under the Forbes-Burnham government, where the People's National Congress was in office, a number of those schools were established in this country. And in some cases, where those schools were established, dormitory facilities were put in place. And so recently, a sum of over $560 million would have been allocated for works to be done at the North Rumvelt Multilateral Secondary School. And so it is shameful to know that have been completed that phase of work, spending 560 million in taxpayers' money. It is alleged that during this rainy season, that both our learners and our teachers have to take shelter in their various classrooms with umbrellas. And this is $560 million taxpayers' money spent to do work on this school. Yet because of poor work that was done, our children, our learners, and our teachers are made to suffer. And so the condition there, like many other schools, are in the worst case scenario. And so this is cause for concern. Teachers and learners would have suffered, and they continue to suffer not only at that school, but many other schools because of total lack of furniture for both teachers and learners. And at this same school and very many other schools, where hundreds of millions of dollars would have been spent for work to be done, the conditions of those schools have not improved. And once those conditions were not improved, then our students, our learners, and our teachers continue to suffer. And you know, the Ministry of Education, the Minister of Education, boasts about large sums of money that is being expended in the education system. That might be so, but there is no corresponding positive effect to cause our teachers and our learners to be satisfied. And so I want to urge the parents, the teachers, and the learners, wherever these situations exist, as I spoke about early on, as it relates to North Rumvelt Secondary School, that they ought to expose these things and don't keep them down. Because these are all cause for concern, because taxpayers' money are being spent to do those things. You know, on this program tonight, we will be going and coming as it relates to, based on the topic that we are discussing here, meaning the cries are many. And so today, I happen to visit the community of Queenstown on the Essequibo coast. And I had an opportunity, or let me say that, let me rephrase. This program had an opportunity to interact with the residents there. And a number of things came out that are heartbroken and very discreditable. And so, viewers who are residing in this region, that some years ago, there was this building that was used for a private secondary school referred to as the Burnett School. And in those days, you talk about polytechnic education. And when that program did not continue, that building would have been used for a period of time by the Queenstown Nursery School. And then the NDC of that area, the Aberdeen Zorgenlight NDC. And so, in a rush to move from that community into a predominantly PPP community, Aberdeen, they constructed, mind you, they had a building, but they constructed a new building, wanting very much to move out of Queenstown. And when that village, the residents, would have inquired because they wanted to use that building for small manufacturing products or an industry, and to train persons to provide skills and other opportunities. The Queenstown Development Association penned a number of letters to the Regional Democratic Council of Region 2, and to date, they would have not received any response. And so there were two letters, but I'm going to come to the second letter. Why they wrote those letters? The first letter seeking to have that building being used, as I said early on, for manufacturing of products, to train and to provide skills for young people, but they were not given any response. Upon investigation, it was found out that that building and compound is not a private property, allegedly, right? But in the name of the state. The allegation is that plans are afoot to sell this property to a private business person. That is discrimination. The people of Queenstown, the Queenstown Development Association, that group is making every effort to provide the young people of Queenstown. What are young people of Queenstown and the Queenstown community who are listening to this program? to understand the level of discrimination that is meted out to that community. Let me further say, for those who are gallivanting into that community, making big promises, the people of Queenstown are far more mature and have a better understanding of them knowing the history of Queenstown. Is a village comprising of 3 areas: Moko, Dagarad, and I'll get the next one just now. And so I want this here to rub in to see that that was denied as it relates to those letters. Another letter was sent to the RDC in relation to a dump site at the back of Queenstown. These matters were all discussed. And today was the statutory meeting of the RDC of Region 2. And I asked the lead counselor, the chairman of the People's National Congress Reform in Region 2, Comrade Prince Holder, and he verified and he confirmed that these letters did not meet the required levels in relation to submissions to the RDC meetings for discussions. And that is why they could not have responded to the group, the Queenstown Development Association, because they want to stifle this organization. And let me touch on another point. They complained bitterly of 3 contracts that were awarded. They didn't say awarded. Let me use what they say. That were given without due process to 3 persons in Queenstown. And so in the first contract, a pastor who had a fortunate position of engaging the president at his premises a few weeks ago allegedly was to have received a contract for $570,000 to clean the burial ground at the back of Queenstown, a part of it, because it was divided into 3 sections. The allegation is that no work was done by this pastor because all the work that would have been done by NDIA pieces of equipment and machinery. And so the allegation is that this pastor received in his pocket $570,000 without spending a cent. If this is not discrimination, if this is not cheating, if this is not fraud, then what other word can we put to that? Then there's another contract, because I said 3, that would have been awarded to for the same sum, $570,000 to a friend, family, and favorite of the PPP, Like the pastor, the fortunate pastor, this PPP comrade, friend, family, and favorite of the PPP, having given, not awarded, given this contract to the value of $570,000, like the pastor, didn't do any work, had NDIA machinery and pieces of equipment doing the work. And you can only conclude that that full sum of money went into the pocket of that friend, family, and favorite of the PPP. And then the third contract would have been awarded, I want to believe, to the tune of $680,000. And I want this from what I would have discussed and from what I heard today in Queenstown, that of all these contractors, one a pastor, one a friend, family, and favorite of the PPP, and the other I would call by name one Mr. Marks. One Mr. Marks would have done his work diligently, and the people of Queenstown would have expressed their satisfaction and appreciation for the work done by one Mr. Marks. And so they have asked this program to convey to Mr. Marks gratitude and thanks. But they've also asked, as this program is now asking, that the Auditor General, the Office of the Auditor General, do a thorough audit of the two other contracts where the NDIA machinery and pieces of equipment would have been used to do work. If this, or if these things that I said this program pointed out just now, they are not discrimination, then tell this program what it is. The cries are many. Now let me turn to an important area now. And these are not allegations. These are realities. I do not want to go down the road, this program rather, to explain what is the function of the Teaching Service Commission and the School Board Secretariat. But of the many functions, both the School Board Secretariat and the Teaching Service Commission, they are tasked with the responsibility of appointments and promotion of teachers and teacher educators. Recently, both the Ministry of Education and the Teaching Service Commission made it their duty to collaborate on an issue of note. And I want our teachers to listen to what is happening, because you are denied your right. You are discriminated. And so they have come together, both the Teaching Service Commission and the Ministry of Education, deciding not to make any senior appointments until after elections. But let me remind our viewers that early on one of these programs, this program would have indicated to our viewers that there was this delaying tactics in ensuring that that list of vacancies would have been prepared on time to meet to schools and institutions so that our teachers and our lecturers can apply for senior vacancies. And it rolled on for a purpose. And that purpose was because both the Teaching Service Commission and the Ministry of Education agreed that no promotion, senior appointments rather, would be made until after elections. Let me say to those who are eligible for appointments, senior appointments, head teachers of the different grades of schools, deputy head teachers, senior masters, mistresses, heads of departments, those 4 levels. And at the technical institutes and the Carnegie School of Home Economics, at Carnegie, your instructors, the deputy principal and your principal, and same thing with these technical institute, principal, deputy principal, senior lecturers. There was this denial. You were denied. You were discriminated against. And so as you wait for that time to be promoted, age is not on your side. So when it is time for your retirement, it is going to affect you as it relates to them calculating your pension and gratuity. And if by chance there is need for more to be added, if you were promoted then to NIS, so that when you come off, and that NIS, those NIS contributions would have met to the ceiling of them giving you back when you reach age 60, it would also affect your NIS pension. And so this program is bringing these things out so that our persons, our teachers, and those who are already in senior positions and would want to aspire to go to the next level by virtue of you being eligible, your cork, so to speak, is down under the water. And that is what is the coming together of the Teaching Service Commission and the ministry. There is another coming together for schools that are managed by school boards. And in very many cases, when you listen to the names and when you hear who are the persons managing school boards in this country, education becomes more laughable. Because they seem people who are heading these boards, they do not have a speck of understanding the education system, the functioning of the education system. And they, like the Ministry of Education, are helping to destroy the system. In some of these technical institutes, and I call it Guyana, the Government Technical Institute. Some time ago, they were saying that once the principal would have gone off, that the deputy principal cannot act. That is unfortunate. And it is unfortunate not only at that institute, but at the Escobar Technical Institute, where those that are heading the Human Resource Committee do not understand. And because they do not, and by the way, the same pastor that I spoke about that is getting contract and the government machinery and pieces of equipment doing the work for him, the pastor, he is a member of the school board at the Escobar Technical Institute, and also a member of the Human Resource Committee. And once upon a time, I represented the Guyana Teachers Union. And when I sat at these meetings and I heard the words of the chairman of the Human Resource Committee and the same pastor, it is amazing to know that they are dealing with human resource aspects of things at a technical institute. Here is where it is adding to the failure of the education system. But let me come back. The point I want to make, like the Ministry of Education and the Teaching Service Commission, the School Board Secretariat and the Ministry of Education have accompanied themselves into discriminating, disallowing, disenfranchising our senior teachers who are eligible and lecturers at these technical institutes, denying them the opportunity because they also would have made that decision to do promotions, appointments rather, senior appointments, till after elections. When these things happen, the system is allowing our teachers and lecturers to be frustrated. But I want our teachers and all our teachers, all our lecturers to listen carefully to understand the level of discrimination of you not being promoted at the right time. You already had a delay in the preparation of the list of senior vacancies. That list had to come out since last year. It came out sometime in March or April thereabout. And it was flawed. Very many mistakes. Head teachers complain about it. And you know, these regional education officers, some of them, they don't complain because they take everything for granted because they don't know. As blank as that, these regional education officers, they do not understand the system. Like the chief education officer, the deputy chief education officers, the assistant chief education officers, and the senior education officers that they place around this place to help damage the education system. And so what the school board secretariat and the teaching service commission not wanting to do senior appointments based on the existing laws, rules and regulations that would govern senior appointments, meaning vacancies, publish, persons apply, shortlisting based on levels of the criteria set out on the sheet, interviews in some cases, and then the appointment. They have shortcut that process by making it their duty to do what is known as administrative appointment. And because there is no competition in administrative appointments, it happens that friends, families, and favorites of the PPP are so appointed in senior positions, despite the fact that it is said that it cannot be done. It is done administratively. Teachers of this system, lecturers, senior teachers, this program is bringing this to your attention because it is the duty of this program to allow you to understand that you are totally discriminated against as it relates to your promotion. Affecting, look at this, affecting your pension and gratuity, affecting your NIS pension when you arrived at age 60. Teachers, again, I call on you to just think of this situation. And when these glowing things are said to you, inviting you to turn in or whatever you call it, inviting you to opening of buildings that are not complete school buildings, inviting you to opening of school buildings where there are inadequate pieces of furniture and teaching materials. Do not go for the flurry of it. It is not what education is all about. And so somebody was sent something to this program today. I hope the Minister of Labor and the Chief Labor Officer, the occupational health and safety persons in the Ministry of Labor, would so advise the Minister of Labor of the chances this minister is taking for photo opportunity, walking over creeks. Photo opportunities without observing aspects of the Occupational Health and Safety Act is a danger. But that is just aside. That is just aside because I say this to indicate to, well, not the education, the chief education officers and all the other, they would follow the Minister of Education blindly into any ocean or river without asking questions. But I'm pointing out this to the reasonable head teachers and teachers in the system who need to understand that you do not follow blindly. Bats don't see. And if they head into a direction, they are heading into the wrong direction. And so I want to bring that to the attention of our viewers in relation to all of these infractions. I turn my attention, rather this program turn its attention to the infractions that are there in these schools that benefit from the irregular practice the discriminatory practice of administrative appointments. So when these persons, because of payback time, if you were there and you supported something or you did not support or what have you, and it is time for payback to you, your payment is administrative appointment, despite the fact you are not the most eligible candidate, despite the fact you are not the most senior, which would come in eligibility criteria, but you were pitchforked through administrative appointments to positions of head teacher and deputy head teacher. And I want our viewers to know that there are some regions, allegedly region 2, 3, 6, 10, allegedly, where the redos are saying to those who were appointed administratively, whatever happens in the schools as it relates to indiscipline among teachers and learners must not get into the public domain because there is need for protection of the system, despite the fact that there are very many infractions. And these administrative appointed head teachers and deputy head teachers are a total failure in the education system. But they are given these appointments because they are awarded for some dirty work they might have done sometime. This is very unprofessional. And such level of decorum cannot stand to have our learners move from one stage to another stage or level in the system to cause them to be able to be so qualified. And so those are the implications, negative, not only as it relates to administrative appointments, but as it relates to the Ministry of Education and the Teaching Service Commission on one hand, and the Ministry of Education and the School Board Secretariat on the other hand, making those very unprofessional, uncalled for decisions. Who is made to suffer? Our teachers and our learners. And our parents are complaining bitterly because of the mismanagement of all of these schools that are managed by persons who enjoy that irregular practice by the Teaching Service Commission and the School Board Secretariat of being appointed administratively. And so let us turn our attention to the memorandum of agreement entered between the Ministry of Education and the Guyana Teachers Union concerning terms and conditions of employment for teachers, teacher educators for the period 2024, 2026. Let me see. Oh, before I go and I say that, this agreement was, let me read the part so that you better understand. This agreement is, that is the time of producing this document, is entered into this, the 21st day of August 2024 by and between the Ministry of Education of Lot 26, Brickdam, therein referred to as the Ministry of the one part, and the Guyana Teachers Union GTU of Wolford Avenue, Thomas Lands, London Park, Georgetown, herein referred to as the GTU. Of the other part, the ministry and GTU are herein referred to as the parties. So this agreement would have been signed on the 24th of August. And so there are a number of terms and conditions in this agreement, 16, so to speak. To date, I want teachers, I want you to listen, because at the time of signing this agreement, there are many questionable things. And one of the questionable things is here. You have signing here, Second Vice President, Guyana Teachers. This is irregular. If the president of the Guyana Teachers Union is signing on behalf of the union, and this is based on an agreed position by the union, not persons, a few persons, to allow our teachers to be betrayed as they were. Hence this flawed agreement or arrangement. And let me see at this point. Whether you are Mr., you are mistress, you are doctor, you are professor, you have a name. And when you sign, you do not sign professor, doctor, you sign your name. My name is Dennis Jaikran. And if I sign my name, I sign Dennis Jaikran. I do not put in my name Dr. Dennis Jaikran. It is irregular. And so you stretch it so far that you do not believe of your level of qualification or what you have, so you sign it where it is irregular. That is apart from what I'm discussing. But in this agreement, it says here, 10% to be paid to all teachers for 2024. Hear what this agreement says at the top here. Terms and conditions of employment for teachers, teacher educators. This would be lecturers and so at these technical institutes and Carnegie School of. This is at the top of it here. It comes down to say 10% to be paid to all teachers. So one time you say teachers and then you say teacher educator, but at the bottom here you are leaving them out. This is a bad document, poorly structured. But when you look at those who sign on to it, you would not be surprised. So 10% in 2024. Teachers would have indicated, teachers and teacher educators would have indicated that they receive that increase. But they have also indicated that having had that increase because of the level of or the cost of living, inflation, because of inflation, their spending power reduced. That is the first. The second point I want to make is that this agreement was signed to pay our teachers and our teachers educator 8% in 2025. This is June, the month of June. I'm coming back to that. And then in 2026, which will be next year, an increased percentage of 9. Now this, if you made this agreement, signing it on the 21st day of August 2024, and there was this budget presented earlier in this year, and there was this appropriation bill being signed, then what happened with this increase in salaries for our teachers and our teacher educators? Viewers, let me report on behalf of the teachers and the teacher educators, because this program would have been, I do not want to use the word bombarded, but would have been totally engaged with phone calls and other means of communication from every part of this region, or may I say education, the 11 education districts. And in those districts, you have our technical institutes. They have all our teachers and our teacher educators and lecturers are so sad, and so they feel so discriminated that up to today, this date in June, they have not been paid their 8% increase in salaries. This is shameful. This is discriminatory. This is targeting our teachers and our teacher educators. But there were wider discourse with this program, and public servants, and mind you, many of them are listening to this program, and they would have asked also to indicate that they were not yet paid that increase in salary for 2025. Despite, as I said early on, that there was this appropriation bill to cause sums of monies to be spent in budget agencies so that state employees can benefit, like how the state employees at the environmental protection agencies are collecting taxpayers' money and are failing to perform their duties. Their cries are many. EPA, the cries are many on you because you are receiving falsely taxpayers' money without functioning. But I come back to our teachers, I come back to our nurses. They have also indicated, because they come on the public servants, and the public servants have not received. And then there was this wider communication to this program where members of the disciplined services, the army, the police, the fire service, the prison service, would have reached out to this program to say also that they have not received this 8% increase in salary. I want to say this program rather would want to say to our teachers, our public servants, members of the discipline services, and other categories of employees of the state that would have been promised this 8% in salaries for 2025 and still not receive it. This program is now asking because before I go for the asking, it is not only that these persons who are benefiting from the treasury with the state, their families are also affected. So this program is calling on all our teachers and those who are listening, who are viewers, pass this message on. All our teachers who are listening, pass it to the other teachers. Pass this in your various groups, your social media groups. Share it with them when I finish with this. Members of the discipline services, those of you who are listening, pass it on through your different social media groups. Public servants who are listening, pass it on to your various social media groups. And this is what I want to say to all these categories of state employees that are paid by taxpayers' money, that this government has no interest in you. They discriminate against you. They are not concerned about your welfare. They are not concerned about the welfare of your family, including your children. And because of that, they are not concerned about the welfare of the education of your children. And therefore, you have a golden opportunity of making a choice on the 1st of September this year. And I came to that because I explained to you why is it you have to make that bold decision, considering every single thing that I said this program would have said to you before. These things are all total discrimination. But let me point out. There is an action plan that I read one. So public servants, teachers, members of the discipline services, and all state employees paid by taxpayers' money. You are given this golden opportunity, having made that decision, to have an increase in salaries up to 35%. And you have decisions to make on the 1st of September to cause this to happen without any delay as you are facing the challenges now. You know, I want to turn to COVID, what you call it, COVID-19. And I start first with the West Demerara region. They can't run away from this. And I want to read from a document, Office of the Matron, West Demerara Regional Hospital, and what have you there, dated the 30th of May. Nursing supervisors, West Demerara Regional Hospital. Subject, designated area. Listen to this, designated area, 30th of May for COVID-19 positive inpatients. Dear supervisors, as you are aware, there has been a recent rise You listen to the language. In COVID-19 cases, please be informed that the designated area has been established adjacent to the emergency room to accommodate all stable COVID positive inpatients, including prenatal mothers. Any individual who tests positive for COVID-19 and requires admission will be placed in this designated area. Staff on duty will be assigned to this area as needed to ensure proper care and coverage. Thank you for your attention and cooperation. And signs here. Some matron. I don't see to it. If there is any doubt, if there is any cover up, there's a document that is now provided for our viewers to know. And let me read this part here. As you are aware, there has been a recent, listen to this word, recent rise in COVID-19 cases. This program is not saying that. This program is merely advising the viewers of what would have been said by letter dated 30th of May 2025, Office of the Matron, West Demerara Regional Hospital. I established that because this program is bringing awareness of and to. Because they are doing all these things, preparing special area next to the emergency room and what have you. Who knows the condition of that room? I might know, because once upon a time I was the regional executive officer of that region. But what are the conditions of that room? What are the facilities within? What are the incentives to our nurses? What are the personal protective gear that you provide for them? What are the aftercare that you would provide to our patient who would have been positive? Ministry of Health, stop covering up. Be truthful to this nation. Because as employees of the state, you are paid by taxpayers. You are public servants. And you are not performing your own duties. You are performing duties as the state would have assigned you to perform. State meaning the taxpayers of this country. Recently, I think it was yesterday, 3 of our grade 5 learners from West Demerara Primary School would have been tested positive. I'm going to repeat this so that our viewers would now take precaution of this here. West Demerara Primary School, 3 of our learners would have been tested. positive for COVID-19. You know, the Ministry of Education is not concerned. The Ministry of Health is not concerned. So what happened? It took the General Secretary of the Guyana Teachers Union at 1:30 this morning, 1:30 this morning, to have dispatched an email and later on in the day, let the viewers know, a letter to the Chief Education Officer drawing attention to this situation. And to date, nothing. As we speak, they have not taken any measure to cause our learners and our teachers to be aware of and to be provided with the necessary personal protective gear. And this is the Ministry of Education that we would have been talking about on this program tonight. Because we care is no care. All they care about is not to check how is it they spend taxpayers' money. Auditor General, you have a lot of work to do. You are paid by taxpayers. And don't be selective in your, because this program is going to bring it out. Your officers and you should be as proactive as you were during the period of the coalition 2015 and 20, because these are all infractions as it relates to because we care grants. And so this program is calling out the Ministry of Education to take that bold step. But listen to what the Ministry of Health, they issued, yes, I'm closing up. They issued yesterday a schedule of fumigating the schools and the school compounds in Georgetown for mosquitoes. God be with us in this country. It is the first time I'm hearing that when there is this level of COVID-19 attracting our school, our learners, the Ministry of Health is seeing it fit to fumigate the schools in Georgetown for mosquito. What a backward position. COVID-19 would require total sanitation of all facilities in our learning institutions. But this Ministry of Education, the CEO, all the officers, right down to the DUs, all the schools, they are all upside down people. And so they are a threat, allegedly, to our learners as it relates to their health. And so, viewers, this program is advising that for all those who are on this program tonight, to ensure that you cause the necessary steps to be taken in an effort to protect yourself and all those around you, and more particularly because the learners in those schools are not the children of these education officers from the CEO right down. you take precaution of your children, yourself, your neighbors, and in the communities in which you live. Viewers, I think we had a very um, long program covering the hour and a half as allocated to this program. We want to ask those who call this program, making interventions, giving advice and suggestions, that you continue to do that as we rely on your knowledge, your submissions, your guidance. This program now takes this opportunity to say thank you, good night, and may God bless you.